Welcome to the Aspire Tutor Program. We're so glad that you're joining our awesome staff of more than 100 peer tutors. We'll work together to support the academic success of our students. One of the great strengths of Keene State College is the support that students provide for other students through experiences such as peer tutoring. As a tutor, you'll each use your own unique style in your work. You are hired as a result of your own academic success and your motivation to help others. Our expectation is that you'll do your very best to provide quality assistance and that you will seek support from our office as well as from your faculty. You'll work independently as most tutoring happens outside of Aspire, and we expect that you'll perform your job duties with the utmost integrity. We hope you have an outstanding experience as tutors. Please let us know if your experience is anything less than this, and feel free to make suggestions to strengthen the tutor program at any time. Students file tutor requests through the Aspire office online. They choose the extent of the information they wish to provide. By FERPA regulations, we cannot disclose any additional information without the permission of the student. Please contact us if you have questions about this. Part 1. Roles and Responsibilities. You can follow along with the paperwork in your folder starting with the tutor contract. Your job as a tutor will be to help support and in many cases improve essential academic skills. Keep in mind you will work with students who all have individual hopes for tutoring. Some are doing great, they just want the assurance and reinforcement of a tutor. Some are struggling, perhaps failing the course, and others fall somewhere between. We expect that you will be able to address questions. You may not know the answers to every question, perhaps it's material that wasn't covered when you took the class, but we expect that you will learn together with your students by connecting with your faculty and seeking additional information from other sources. Students may need help developing an effective study plan. Remember that this is individual to each student, and you can help develop a personalized plan that works. You can feel free to share some of the strategies that have helped you or other successful students you know. You will help build the self-confidence of your students through your work together. Remember, success builds more success. You will meet with your tutee on a weekly basis. This process will start after the tutee match is sent to both your student and to you. Look for an email from Jean with the tagline Aspire Tutor Request. You can expect to hear from your tutee within a week to begin tutoring. If you do not, we ask that you reach out to your tutee by phone or email to determine if he or she still wishes to receive tutoring. If your tutee does not, please let Jean know. You will also do paperwork. More on that later. This will include the tutor-tutee contract, tutor narrative, and timesheet. You will also be expected to attend all tutor training sessions, keep us informed about how your students are doing, and contact us as needed. The next form to sign is the confidentiality agreement. As a tutor, you may have access to confidential information like disability information, grades, and progress in a class. You are responsible for respecting and preserving the confidentiality of your fellow students. Please treat this information with the same level of care that you'd want others to treat yours. We recommend that you establish a positive relationship with your tutee right from the start, a relationship where you can share information and maintain effective communication. Tutoring information is not shared with faculty, but tutoring is most effective when tutors, tutees, and faculty work together as a team. We recommend setting up meetings as needed with your faculty and your tutees to foster communication and teamwork. You will be paid a set hourly rate as discussed at your interview. If your tutee cancels less than 24 hours in advance or is a no-show, you get paid only for preparation time, which is typically 1 hour. You are paid for all tutor trainings and meetings, and finally, you are expected to understand that sometimes you may work less than 2 hours in one day. Tutoring sessions are typically 1 to 1.5 hours every week. If you're meeting with students in group sessions, you may meet more than once a week. If you find you need more time consistently than the hour to hour-and-a-half sessions, please talk with us to make sure the tutoring budget can support this. Most sessions take place in the library, but you also can meet in any academic building or other public location on campus. If you'd like to meet in a classroom, please schedule it in 25 Live. A typical session consists of going over class material, working through questions about homework, completing practice worksheets, and other related activities.
Part 2, the narrative and website. This is the Tutor Program website. This will be the site that you will be utilizing as an Aspire tutor for resources, for your administrative tasks, and much more. We operate through a Google site, so there are a few ways to access the site in the future. Katie will be emailing you after this orientation with a link to the site so you can bookmark it for easy access in the future. But just for reference, if you log into Google with your account that has been added to the site, you will see the Aspire Tutor Program homepage listed on there. You can also go to the Keene.edu website and either search for Aspire or go to the A to Z index. Scroll down to the Aspire page, and on the right-hand side you'll see our tutor program, so you can select that. And right on that page there will be a link for current tutors to the resource site. So there are several ways to access it, but it's always great to have that bookmark of the site so you can get to it very easily. On that site you'll see some navigation at the top. One of the most important pages, if you hover over the Tutor tab, you'll see your name. So you can select that and it will bring you to your tutor page. Also under tutors will be a Meet Your Head Tutor page, so it'll have bios and information about the head tutors for the year as well as their office hour schedule, so you can access that anytime if you need to drop in and speak with your head tutor. Head tutors are tutors who have been with the program for some time. They've had some really great experiences. They help train our new tutors, and they're a really great resource for you, so reaching out to them if you have any questions or want some advice on tutoring. They will also be contacting you once you get all set up in the system to see if there's anything that you need from them and if they can offer any advice. So on your page we'll have some navigation links. Again, the announcements that I mentioned earlier will always be on there. Typically information around upcoming trainings or timesheet deadlines, anything like that will be under announcements. Under that will be a list of your tutees, so any students that you take on throughout the semester will be listed on your page. It will have the course and it will be hyperlinked, so if you select that course it will open up the student's tutor request. You can go back through the request, see any information that they provided, also look at their availability and their schedule. Sometimes that can help with rescheduling a missed tutoring session or anything else that you might need. Under your list of tutees, you'll find the tutor narrative. The tutor narrative is your one big administrative task as a tutor. The narrative is a form that you'll complete after each and every tutoring session for each and every student. The narrative is very important in several ways. It allows you to keep track of the progress of each student that you're working with. It'll also be used to record your hours on your timesheet so you can get paid. And we also like to keep track of all of the students that we serve through the Aspire program, so we'll have good records on all of that. So you will fill out one narrative per student per session. So for example, if you have a session of 3 students, a group session, then you will complete 3 narratives after each session. So your name will be preloaded into the narrative, as well as your tutee's name, as well as the course. So we just ask that you make sure that you're lining up the correct course number and section with the tutee name, and you can always check that by scrolling back up and seeing the course listed on there. Under that, you'll complete the date of session and the start time, the location where the session took place, anywhere public on campus. If you plan to have your tutoring sessions at a different location that's not listed on your narrative, you can let Katie know. It can be added to your narrative so you don't have to select other every time. The type of session, whether it was group or individual, and your prep time. Typically you get paid for an hour of prep before every session that you have. If you're working with a group or you need some additional prep time, you can select the other option and add in however long you need it for your prep and then put that time on your timesheet. Time spent working with tutee. Typically sessions are an hour once a week. Again, with the groups, you're allowed some longer session times, so you can select whatever is appropriate on here. We discussed the cancellation policy and the no-show policy. So if you had a 2T that canceled, you prepped for the 1 hour, you can select 2T canceled, put your hour of prep on the timesheet. Same thing with the no-show. If the student didn't show to the session, you can still put that hour of prep on your timesheet and the 15 minutes for waiting for the no-show. Then what did you do to prepare for the session? So reviewed materials, maybe spoke with faculty, made a worksheet, whatever it is that you did, please indicate it on here. Then it goes into some questions about the 2T. So are they attending class regularly, up to date with assignments, good notes? These are just checks to make sure that the student is using you as that supplemental option to the class, still going to class, still talking with faculty, still participating in class. This isn't something that you have to necessarily ask outright to the student. It becomes evident in your sessions as you're working together, but nonetheless, good checks to have. If you have any comments on the above information, you can leave that in the box there. Then specifically, what did you work on with the student? Subject content, study skills, mentoring can be anything from helping them with organization to talking about classes that they could be taking in the future, sharing information about majors, anything like that. And then more specifically, what did you cover in the session? So give us as much information as you can about the material that you went over. Did you go through a worksheet? Did you go through homework problems? Anything like that. If you refer the 2T out to any resources on campus, maybe they mentioned that they're struggling in one of their math classes, so you talked about the Math Center, or you referred them over to Aspire for some additional help with time management, you can put wherever it is that you send them in the box. If you encounter any problems during your sessions, we ask that you please indicate it on the narratives for recording purposes, but to also reach out to Jean or Katie as soon as possible so we can help you resolve that problem. We want to make sure that you feel supported while you're here as a tutor, so any issues that you have, please reach out to us, stop in the office, give us a call, send us an email, whatever it is, so we can help you resolve it as soon as possible. Then it wants you to assess how your 2T understood material before and after the session. So just kind of gauge, did they have a lot of questions when they came in? By the time they left, were they feeling better? Were they feeling the same? And that's a good thing to keep track of throughout their time as your 2T to see the progress that they've made. The final thing you have to do on the narrative, is there anything that they must prepare for the next session? Did you assign a worksheet? Did you want them to have their homework completed? Whatever it is, the date and time of the next scheduled meeting, and any additional comments you may have. Once you complete that, you can click Submit. And if you scroll down and refresh the page, you'll see your narrative responses compile in the spreadsheet below. This will allow you to keep track of the narratives that you've submitted, as well as the progress of the student throughout the semester, and you can check that at any time. So that's your page on the website. When you get on there, click around, take a look, but just remember that that narrative should be completed as soon as possible after every session that you have with every student. Next to your tutor page will be the unmatched request list. So for each semester, you'll see the semester and then the unmatched requests. So if you scroll down, the process for picking up a 2T would be to send an email to Katie. If you click that link, it'll bring up an email directly to her with the student's name in the course. So students' names will be listed on the tutor requests, the unmatched requests, as well as the course. And again, if you click on the class, it will bring up the student's tutor request, and you can go through the request and see all the information and look at the student's availability at the end. So that's all accessible to you on there. So if you see a request that you can pick up, send an email to Katie with the student's name in the course. Katie will confirm that that request is still available and yours, and then from there the student will receive a match notification from Jean. You will be copied on that, and that's how you can start the conversation to set up your tutoring times with the student. So looking at the unmatched request list, the courses are listed by the course number. ISPs will be grouped in the middle. So you can take a look at that. Also keeping in mind the dates that the requests were submitted. So if you're looking to pick up some requests that have multiple requests in there, then take a look at the dates and pick up the student who has been waiting the longest if you can. Sometimes there are schedule conflicts, which we understand, but we want you to keep that in mind. If a student has requested you specifically, your name will appear in the column here. And if they want to work with some classmates, then those students' names will appear here. So students who request to work together must be matched up together. So that information is always available on the spreadsheet. It gets updated several times a day, so always check back and see what new requests appear. We accept tutoring requests up through the 10th week of each semester. So always be checking back in, and then we're always looking to match up the requests that remain even after that time. So it's a good thing to check the unmatched request list at least once a day. The tab next to that is tutor training. Information around our tutor trainings will be posted on here. The fall schedule, the spring schedule. When we have our dates, we put them up there. We also like to post information about past trainings, so you can take a look through the website and look at some of the PowerPoints or any information that's on there. So you can always refer to trainings on the tutor training tab. Most everything else is listed under tutoring resources. Timesheet information. The pay period sheet that you have in your folder is also located electronically on this site, so you can access it anytime. There's also a link to go to your timesheet, so you can select that. We'll talk more about timesheets. The timesheet deadlines are Thursdays by 9:30 p.m., so you'll want to follow those dates that are located on the pay period timesheet. The tutoring handbook is a great resource. It also lives on the website. It's something that you can access anytime, and you can click through information on first meetings, roles and responsibilities of tutors and tutees, some great first meeting tips, so it's definitely worth taking a look at before you set up your first sessions. So give the tutoring handbook a look once you get onto the website. Frequently asked questions, they do exist. We get them all the time, and we're happy to answer any questions that you ever have, but sometimes it's worth it to go through the questions that are on the site and see if it's something that you might have yourself. The orientation video is also located on the Tutor Resource tab, so you can select that if you ever need to go back through any information. The final page that I want to talk about is the Tutor Filing Cabinet. The Tutoring Filing Cabinet is a great resource that we have been developing over the past few semesters. Previous tutors who have developed worksheets and made study guides and all kinds of different supplemental materials, the tutors have been giving us that information, and we've been uploading it onto the website. So we have the course listed and the professor. So if you are coming in for one of these various classes, you can look through the filing cabinet and see if there are any resource sheets that you can utilize, that you can maybe build your own worksheet off of, or maybe just use as an additional worksheet for a class. But we're always adding more information to this page, so take a look at it, see if there's anything you can use, and as you're developing your own materials, you can upload them to the website as well. So it's a great file sharing. We also have some great resources on here. It's under an external links folder for different supplemental apps and websites that you can use for tutoring sessions. So definitely worth giving it a look when you're just starting out and starting to develop your plans for your tutoring sessions. If you ever have any questions about the website, reach out to Katie, talk to your head tutor. If you have any friends who are tutoring, you can speak to them as well. But this is a great resource for you, so we ask you to utilize it. Always check the unmatched request list. Make sure you get your narratives in, and have a fun time tutoring. Part 3, Timesheet and Pay. In your folder, you will find a pay information sheet, which is also available on the tutor site. It outlines when your timesheets are due and when you will be paid. Make sure you pay close attention to all the deadlines. We expect you will submit your timesheet each pay period, which occurs every other week. Please note on your pay period information sheet the deadline for narratives and timesheets for the Aspire Tutor program. Typically every other Thursday by 9:30 p.m. This ensures that we can go through your narratives and your timesheet and get you paid in a timely manner. Also keep an eye out for any early timesheet deadlines, as they do occur every semester. We cannot accept retroactive timesheets any later than the next pay period, so please make sure you do not miss the opportunity to submit your narratives and timesheets. This ensures that you get paid for the work you do and that we have the documentation of the great work you're doing with your tutees. Your timesheet will be available through the WISE Web Information System for employees. You will be able to access the WISE timesheet by following the link that's on the Tutor Program website or by simply typing into your web browser wise.unh.edu. Your timesheet will be available to you depending upon if you're a new hire and when we've submitted your paperwork. Keep an eye out for an email from Human Resources confirming your employment with the tutoring program. Once you receive that email, you should be able to access your timesheet. And to access your timesheet, you'll click the Login, and you'll log in with your NetID username and password, which is the same for your MyKSC. From there, you'll see the welcome screen, and you'll want to go to Employee Services, and then select Timesheet. If you have multiple jobs on campus, you'll see yet another position appear for the tutoring program. You'll want to make sure that you select the appropriate one. You can select the timesheet and also making sure that you're in the correct pay period. So you want to make sure that the date range that you're selecting is the one for this current pay period. Once that's all set, you'll select Timesheet, and this will bring you to the timesheet view. Some buttons to comment on. You're paid on a bi-weekly basis, so make sure that you enter in both weeks of the timesheet. There's a button down at the bottom. You can select Next, and that will bring you to the second week to fill in the hours from there. When you're all set filling in your hours, it's always good to click Preview to make sure that you can see how everything lines up throughout the 2 weeks and that everything is entered in correctly. You'll compare that with your narratives. To enter hours, you'll always be focusing on this top row for the hourly temp casual. You'll select the day for where you had your tutoring hours and click Enter Hours. For tutoring, we ask that you tack on your hour of prep right before your session. You certainly can prep any time that you need to before your tutoring session, but just to keep everything clean, so when we look at the timesheet, we know exactly when your prep hour was and when you worked, we ask that you just tack it right on. So if you had a 1-hour session at noon, you would put in 11 a.m. for your prep hour to 1 p.m. and making sure you change that a.m. to p.m. If you have multiple sessions in one day, you can just tab right down to the next line. You can put in, if you had a 1-hour session at 4 o'clock, you can do 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Never change the shifts. It's always shift 1, but you can always put in multiple lines. You can click Save and you'll see the hours appear on there. If you have back-to-back sessions in a day, you need to remember that you can't work more than 5 hours at a time without a break and 8 hours in a day. So if adding your prep hour on will create a conflict for that, just spread out the hours and we'll be able to find that. So for example, if you had some back-to-back sessions, you can do a 1 o'clock to a 3, and then a 3 to a 5. And then let's say you had another session at 5. Spread it out by a half an hour, so you can put 5:30 and then bump everything back. So you have 6 hours on the timesheet, but you have a little break in between there, so you won't go over the 5 hours at one time. So you want to keep track of your hours throughout the week. It's best to go in and submit the hours on your timesheet as soon as the session happens. So we ask that you get the narratives in, put the hours on your timesheet so you don't have to worry about it later on. If for some reason you miss a pay period and you need to get paid for the hours that you missed, we will go over retro hours with you. It'd be great to stop in and see Jean or Katie to talk about making sure that you're recording everything correctly and that the narratives are in. But if you have to record retro hours, you just go to the first day of the new timesheet, so usually the Saturday. You'll go to the second row to enter hours, and then you're going to enter the bulk hours for the pay period that you missed. So for example, if you had 10 hours from a previous pay period and you forgot to submit your timesheet a couple weeks ago, for this new pay period, you'll want to put them all in bulk. So you can do 12 a.m. to 10 a.m. Click Save, and you'll see your 10 hours appear on there. If you ever have to retro hours, we also ask that in addition to putting the hours on the retro portion of the timesheet, that you go to the comment section and leave us a comment. So retro hours, and tell us the date range for the sessions that were missed on the last pay period. So retro hours were for sessions dating 10/9 through 10/12, just as an example. So we'll know when we see that to go through your narratives and check that date range and make sure that that adds up to the 10 hours that you have on retro. When that's all set, you can click Save, go back to previous menu, take a look at your hours, making sure that you have hours for both weeks. So again, we can enter in PM. So we have hours for both weeks. Go back to the timesheet. You'll want to preview, make sure everything looks good. So we did have some retro hours this week. Otherwise, you should only see that one row with shift 1 for all of your hours for the week. So when that looks good, you can submit your timesheet for approval. It's going to ask you to retype your password, and once you've done that, you will be able to see on the timesheet that it was submitted for you for approval by you on a certain date and that we're waiting for approval from Jean. So once you see that, you know that your timesheet has been successfully submitted and you are all set. If there are ever any questions, we will reach out to you either by phone call or through email. So keep an eye out during the pay period deadlines to make sure if there are any problems that we can get them resolved as soon as possible and you're able to get paid for the work that you do. Some additional important details to note about timesheets. You get paid for your 1 hour for orientation today, so when your timesheet appears, be sure to put that 1 hour on the first day of the timesheet. You also get paid for tutor training, so every training that you attend, be sure to keep track of that time and put it on your timesheet as well. It's also important to note that Keene State caps all student employees at a maximum of 20 hours per week. So if you're working multiple jobs on campus, please keep track of your hours between all the jobs and make sure that you don't go over the 20 hours. Also make sure that the hours between the different jobs do not overlap. Finally, if you haven't done so already, it's a great idea to set up direct deposit. If you have multiple jobs on campus, you get paid for all the jobs through one check, but it's great to have it deposited directly to your account, and you can do so by signing up through the same website where you submit your timesheet, thewise.unh.edu. Part 4, Working with Tutees. Tutoring sessions through Aspire are offered both individually and through small groups. The format of the session is based on the availability of the tutor, the demand for the course, the subject content, and the need of the student. There are many benefits to small group tutoring, including student collaboration. It is important for you as the tutor to consider group dynamics throughout the sessions and make changes to the group as necessary. To take on new tutees, you'll be checking the tutor website and the unmatched request list page often. The first step in setting up a session with a new tutee is to email Katie the request that you would like to select. If that request is available, then the match will be made and a notification email will be sent out to the student that you will be copied on. The expectation once the student receives the match notification is that they will be contacting you. Once you hear from the student, you want to set up a line of communication that works best for both of you. If you want to give out your cell phone number to the student, you can feel free. Otherwise, they'll have your email and you can communicate back and forth that way. The final step for setting up a session is determining a time and place to meet each week. You will have the student's schedule on the tutor request, but you still want to communicate back and forth with them on a time that's going to work best on a weekly basis. Now you're ready for your first session. At the session, it's really important to introduce yourself and to take some time to get to know each other. This will establish the good, positive working relationship for the rest of the semester. It's also important to discuss the class and how they're feeling towards the course material and what they expect to get out of tutoring. Before you begin working on material, you both need to sign the tutoring contract. The contract outlines the expectations for both the tutee and tutor each week for the remainder of your time working together. You have one contract in your folder, but there are more available in the tutor room. The first thing you need to fill out is both of your names on the top of the contract. This is very important for filing later. Then agree on a date and time to meet and write these under number 1. Both tutees and tutors are expected to come fully prepared for each session. Make sure to outline exactly what prepared means and what they need to bring every session. While we understand that sometimes things come up and tutees might not be able to attend their tutoring sessions, we ask that the student gives the tutor as much notice as possible. When a student does not attend a session, we consider it as one of two things, either a cancellation or a no-show. If a student notifies you prior to the start of the session that they cannot attend, it's considered a cancellation. If it's close to your session time and you had already prepped, you may submit a narrative indicating that the tutee canceled and putting on your preparation time, and you can still put that 1 hour on your timesheet. While there's not a specific policy around cancellations, we ask that you pay attention to how often your tutee is canceling if you feel like it is frequent. If they are canceling on you often, it is grounds for you to discontinue the tutoring match if you wish to do so. The no-show policy is a very important part of the contract and is in place to make sure that the tutee respects the tutor's time. A no-show is when the tutee misses a session without contacting their tutor ahead of time. The tutor will show up to their location that they agreed upon and will wait for 15 minutes before leaving and recording a no-show. Just like a cancellation, you will also record a no-show on your narratives. You will still get paid for your hour of prep, and you can also get paid for the 15 minutes that you waited for the student to show before leaving. A tutor will issue a warning the first 2 times a student does not show. If they don't show for a 3rd time, the tutor will then have to discontinue the tutoring match and will inform Jean or Katie. Once you've discussed the contract and agree on the terms, both the tutor and the tutee sign at the bottom. It's important to fill out the contract with a ballpoint pen and to press hard so the signatures can go all the way through the copies. You can then separate out the 3 pieces of paper. You keep the white copy, the yellow copy goes to the tutee, and the pink copy gets dropped off at the Aspire office in the tutor room. After the contract is completed and the expectations are set for tutoring, it's important to set some goals for the semester. When discussing goals for the course in the semester, be sure to set specific guidelines and action steps to help you achieve it. It's also important to discuss the format of your tutoring sessions and some ways that the student works best and what will work for them during your time together. You may also want to take a look at their notes or other course material to get an idea of where they're at in the class. Next, we are going to discuss how to use your preparation time. Depending on the course and the format of your sessions, a great use of your prep hour is to create supplemental materials like worksheets or study guides. You can also use examples or manipulate materials from the tutor filing cabinet. Another great use of that hour is to meet with faculty for clarification on material, ideas on how to present information, new course material that may have been added, and problem solving. It's also important to use your prep time to make a plan for your session. Sometimes the plan will change, but it's always good to have an idea of what information you want to cover in the session. Don't always leave it up to questions that the student might have, because they might not know what their questions are quite yet. Another responsibility as a tutor is to attend regularly scheduled tutor trainings. We typically have 4 to 5 trainings every semester, and the schedule is posted on the tutor website. Tutor trainings throughout the semester are designed to assist you in your development as a peer educator. We offer relevant semester topics, allow for collaboration between tutors, and offer solutions for problems that arise in a session. Also, did I mention that we have good snacks? Your role as a tutor will both benefit you and the tutee. You will retain the material, gain confidence, and learn important communication skills. In an effort to always be improving the services that we offer, we want to talk briefly about observations and evaluations. Observations of tutoring sessions are a regular occurrence. They are meant to provide constructive feedback and to help continue to improve the program and the skills of each tutor. Every semester, Aspire seeks feedback from both the tutors and tutees regarding their experiences with the tutor program. We highly encourage your honest opinions and are always aiming to improve. You will receive a link to an anonymous survey at the end of each semester, and we encourage you to fill it out as well as your tutees. When you encourage your tutees to fill out their feedback forms, you then can request to view the feedback that you receive from the students. You can sit down with Jean or Katie and go over the evaluations and discuss how you thought the semester went. So let's get started. At the end of this presentation, we want to answer any questions you have around tutoring and have you sign all the papers in your folder. From there, we will look at the unmatched request list to see if there's anything you can pick up, and we'll show you the tutor room where you can drop off completed contracts and get any other materials that you need. None of this would be possible if not for your hard work. We are very excited that you are joining our staff, and we want to support you in any way that you need. So please let us know how we can help you along this process of being a tutor. The most important thing you can do immediately following this tutoring orientation are to connect with your faculty for the courses you will be tutoring for. They may need to add you to the Canvas or other sites and provide materials and information you will need. You'll also want to gather your own course material and review the course content, and think about a good place to hold your sessions on campus. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have a very fulfilling and positive experience as a tutor, and remember that we're always here to support you with whatever you need.